Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Barron, your host, and welcome to my podcast, That's Life, I Swear. My guest today is Darya Katkavets, and this is her story. Every day, millions of people cross borders to begin new lives. But you know what? Adapting to a new country is about far more than learning a language. It means understanding unspoken cultural rules, like how people communicate, build relationships, make decisions, and even solve problems. Now, originally from Belarus, Daria has experienced that journey firsthand, and we'll get into that. Today, we'll explore how culture shapes our workplaces and daily lives, why misunderstandings happen across cultures, and why curiosity and empathy are essential in an increasingly connected world. So this conversation is about immigration, adaptation, and human connection. That said, please join me as I have my conversation with Darya Katkavets. Darya, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rick. Thank you for having me today. Yeah, my name is Daria, and I'm originally moved from Belarus to California. And for the past few years, I have been building my new life here from scratch. And I work in creative production. I'm managing content for global brands. But outside of my work, I'm passionate about art and culture. I like movies, theater, music, and books. So I like to explore California and the United States. So I'm glad to be here and share some of my journey with you today.
That's great. So when did you start your journey? What was the motivation to leave Belarus and come here to the United States? And what were some of the biggest emotions you experienced when you arrived?
Actually, I think life gave me a great opportunity and I decided to take it. I won the green card in 2022 and I moved to the United States in 2023. So I had almost a year to prepare. I saved money. I just planned everything carefully, so was a spontaneous decision. Uh, and maybe the hardest part was to prepare our friends and family for the fact that my husband and I were leaving. And when I finally arrived here, I honestly felt I was in another planet.
Why would you say that?
Everything was so different, like the culture, the people, the language, even small, everything, everyday things like electrical outlets or grocery stores. So maybe it sounds funny, but even simple things felt completely new. So I think for the first couple of months, I felt like an excited tourist. I had so much energy and curiosity. I want to explore everything and visit new places, try new foods, understand how life worked here. So yeah, I think it was like an adventure every day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's still a big jump. You're coming from the other side of the world, and it sounds like you took a lot of planning and all this. And if I may, how did your husband adapt when he came here to the United States with you?
I think he was in the United States here before. Like he had business trips here, so he knew something about America, but me not. And it was like my first experience, so I think for him it was more easy to adapt. Yeah. So yeah.
So he was probably able to provide you some guidance
Yes,
to a
that's
certain
true.
degree.
Yeah, he was in Chicago on his business trips, so he wanted to show me the city. And I remember when we visited, he just was so excited to show me some places and show me some places.
Yeah. Well, real quickly, I can relate to what you were saying about different changes. I've been on trips to Europe with my wife,
Mhm.
Italy, France, Portugal, and you notice some of the subtle changes that like you were saying, even where you plug in your phone, you have to
Yeah.
have an adapter. Things are
Yes.
very different at beginning. But what were some of the cultural differences that you noticed that surprised you the most when you arrived here?
Um, I still remember arriving in the United States, and one of the first things I noticed, uh, literally within the first hour, was how big the cars were.
Really?
Yes. In the
Oh, yeah.
airport, I remember in the parking spot. It might be sound funny, but that was my very first impression.
Well, truth be told, I know when I went to Italy and to France, I think more so with France, I didn't see that many big cars.
Yes. We don't have
And
like a lot of big cars in my city, like in my country and in Europe, I think as well.
okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
No,
But
no,
maybe if we're talking about like cultural, I think I noticed how friendly people here, like everybody just ask you some questions. How are you doing? How are your day? And give you a lot of compliments. It was so like unusual for me. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of so different. It's almost like a shock to your system that um, why are they being so nice to me per se versus that's
Yes.
just how they are,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, every culture is different, and you have people who simply know what those unwritten rules are because they grew up here.
Mhm.
And I think you kind of shared on it briefly here, but what have been some of the cultural habits or behaviors that you've been learning since you've been here, especially coming from Belarus? Because, you know, again, that's a huge jump to take. And I
Mhm.
applaud you for making that move.
Thank you. And do you know this theory about coconut and peaches culture?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Enlighten me.
Yeah. The United States is often described as a coconut or as a peach culture. Sorry. Peaches are soft from the outside and hard from the inside, right? So Americans are usually very friendly. They like smiles, ask how are you doing, and give you a lot of compliments. But at the same time, becoming a part of someone's inner circle, it takes time. And people are friendly, but they also value personal boundaries and privacy. Is often takes longer before conversations become truly personal. Belarus, on the other hand, is much closer to coconut culture. Coconut is hard on the outside and soft from the inside, right? So people may seem serious and reserved when you first meet them. We don't usually smile at strangers or talk to strangers. Um, so once, but what once someone becomes your friend, the relationship is often very deep and loyal, and people are willing to help you, support you, and be there when you really need them. So, yeah, it's just a different understanding of culture, and it's always like shaped with our society and I think history. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because I know, I think I shared with you earlier. I had worked with uh, people from Israel, and I got to know quite a few of them quite well. And at first, their demeanor is very brash, upfront. I mean, they speak their mind and they cut to the chase to explain or define what they're talking about or what the issue is or how to solve a problem. And I think until you get to know them, uh, then they open up to you, like as you were saying. There's that establishing that bridge of trust that, hey, I can now talk to you on the same level, and you understand that my expressions or how I say things are not to be taken in a negative way.
Yeah, that's true.
So those are things that I've learned by working in the workplace. I know we had talked earlier, and a book you called out called The Culture Map by Erin Meyer was something I think was of help to you. It kind of expanded on what you have been experiencing thus far. I mean, what ideas or information from that book helped you better understand cultures and their differences from what you knew before?
Yeah, this book, I highly recommend to read this book for people who work in the international companies. And I think this book completely changed the way I think about communication. Erin Meyer describes 8 different scales that explain how culture communicate, give feedback, make decisions, build trust, and even disagree with each other. And once you understand those differences, communications becomes much easier. You stop asking who's right, why this person is so like rude for me or something like that. You try to understand like why this what's background of this person, what shape his communication like that. So for me, it's probably this is like the biggest lesson. If you understand how people communicate, you can build stronger relationship with them, work more effectively, and feel much more confident, especially in international teams.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you have difficulty at first when you came into the American workplace on what you're describing right now?
Yes. I remember when I just started working in my international American company, I didn't understand why people give me so much like details in my tasks. You know, you interviewed me, you know my background, you know that I managed like uh, complex projects. Why I need so like a lot of informations, right? I'm not like junior manager. it was it was interesting, but after some time, and I understood that, especially if you work in international companies, uh, it's not like problem is not you. They try to be like clear. They um, describe expectation from you, so it helps to be on the same page, like for everybody. So it's kind of cultural differences, and yeah, we talked about this before. It's also connected to one of the scale from this book, like high context communication and low context communication. Yeah, I can say a little
Can
bit
you
more about that.
can you define? Yeah, just for the benefit of the audience, and for me as well.
Yeah,
But what does that mean?
yeah.
The low
High
context and high.
context and low context communication is about how much information is left unsaid. Or if we're talking about like metaphorically, it's like reading the air. In high context culture, like for example, my culture, Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, China, Japan, people often expect you to understand the situation without every detail explained. Like communication is usually shorter because everybody shares a lot of the same context. And in low context culture, like United States, like Canada, um, these countries, is especially like young countries, people prefer to make everything explicit. They explain expectations clearly, ask questions, and make sure everything like on the same page. So that's kind of differences.
No, you ever find though, since you've been in the workplace here in the United States, um, even though one is talking, sometimes hand gestures, emotions on the face, that, at least from my point of view, is a form of communicating. Um, have you ever come across a situation where you thought you explained yourself, but the person hearing you, their facial expressions said otherwise?
It maybe happens like with me. Do you know this interesting, right now it's like a meme, Slavic face?
Okay.
It's kind of when I just look at this person just
Okay.
judging view,
Mhm.
but it's not like that. It's just we have like poker face all the time.
Oh,
And it's not mean that we are like unkind or unfriendly. It's just our face expression.
no, I've dealt with that in the workplace when I was in high tech. You know, I worked with a group of Japanese who came to our country. It was like every 2 months, and we would have sessions. And when I first participated, I would ask a question, and uh, the Japanese manager just kind of looked at me as if I'd asked a stupid question. And I thought, okay, what do I do now? And it wasn't later on till one of my peers, who happened to be Japanese, was explaining to me uh, the norms and the cultures of Japan. And he was saying when he didn't reply to you, uh, it's our way that we are thinking what you just said and trying to formulate an answer uh, that is definitive. So that way he understands and he's replying in the manner that, okay, you understand and we can move on. But it's things like that, that you have to take on your own and learn. Because I think if one doesn't try to understand or ask questions, of the group, like, what did I say wrong? That you get that feedback. Now, I'd have to wonder, I mean, because for myself, when I worked in high tech, I came across a lot of people who came in from various parts of the world. I mean, Japan, South America, Canada. I mean, that's where I met my wife, and Europe. But in the time that you've been here, have you come across other individuals from different countries that have had, maybe some difficulty or something in that form of adapting to the American, not only the American environment, but the American workplace?
You know, right now I work in an American company, and I can say that we have really like diverse team from all over the world. Um, so I I can notice some differences in impressions in how you get the information, how you understand your colleagues, and yeah, it's really interesting experience to communicate with people from different cultures. And for example, I can give you example like about the feedback.
Hmm.
For example, in my country, we always have like very, very direct feedback. Um, it's not so like kind, like like in America. In America, you can just maybe will hear you will good with these things, you will good with things. With I recommend to fix these things, right?
Mhm.
And you don't know exactly how you did your work. Is it was really bad, or it was not so bad, or maybe it's kind of highlighting some things. But in our countries, like I will tell about Slavic countries like Belarus, Russia, Ukraine, it's always like you did this wrong, just fix it that, and that. Or it's bullshit. You need to fix that. So you know from the first sentence that you did something wrong or something good. So it's kind of help you to know to like how you can grow, how you can communicate with your manager, how you you know what you want to fix it.
Right.
Here, it's a little bit like complicated.
No, I hear what you're saying because I've had different situations where I had a manager who would tell you if you did something wrong, and they kind of worked up to it to tell you what went wrong. But then I had another manager who was to the point immediately. And for me, I liked that because I knew where I stood with my boss and what I had to do and what his expectations were. So I learned from that and tried to mold my manner of how I worked so that way I met their expectations as best as I could. Um, Now, I know we talked about this prior, and maybe you mentioned it somewhat, but you talked about direct and indirect communication. Um, so how does that work out? I think in terms of the book itself, I think that's part of the scales, or I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. The first step, you should understand that your way to communicate is not the only way to communicate. We all grew up thinking our communication is normal, but it's actually shaped by our culture. And if you don't know that cultural differences exist, it's very easy to misunderstand people. You might think someone is being rude because they're very direct, or that someone is being unclear because they're too indirect. But often they just communicate in the way they learn to communicate. And that's why I try to ask myself, like, why this person communicating this way? What might their cultural background be? Those questions help me like stay curious instead of judging or becoming defensive. And if we're talking like in international teams, I think it's also helpful to be like, it's helpful to talk about communications styles openly. For example, if you manager or if you like manage some people, you can say, I tend to be very direct, but it's never personal. My goal is simply to solve the problem or improve the work. And you kind of give people in front of you understanding that it's not your like intention to harm these people. Yeah, it's like more kind intentions. Yeah.
Well, and you're talking about, we perform as by the culture we were raised in. But since you've been here, do you find you've kind of changed in some manner to like, okay, I need to conform to the American way, so to speak, so I can really maybe fit in better? Or do you feel like, but this is who I am. I don't mean any offense. I don't mean to have a poker face, as you put it. But I mean, what have you learned from that? Do you feel like, okay, if I'm going to fit in, I'm going to have to change?
Of course, American culture influencing me. That's 100%. I think for the past few years, I've changed. I'm not the same person like I lived in Belarus. And of course, I am who I am. I shaped by my culture, my impressions, my favorite food, my like arts understanding, all of that, it's shaped by my culture, of course. And of course, Americans too, because of the Hollywood, because of this culture that I've seen all my childhood and all my like adult lives in Belarus. But if we're talking about like cultural influence, of course, I see how my international friends, my American friends influencing me. I'm not judging like I was maybe like when I moved here. I tried to know people first and then to make my decision.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's changed me in a better way. Yeah,
Okay. Well, you said you had to
completely.
make some change, or you made some changes. Um, if you want to share, what were some of those changes that you noticed that you changed over time, and why?
Mm, I can talk about like immigration as a process. It's really hard.
Uh-huh.
And for example, when I meet my friends who also moved to the United States, like they also immigrants, we always talk about these hard things, like about the taxes, about the documents, about some difficult adults' life things, right? But I like to communicate with my American friends who have no idea about that things. And we talk about these simple things, like about life.
Mhm.
I really, really like that. Like, and I think it's really like influencing me. And I try to notice life here, you know? And I think it's because of my international communication as well.
Now, you majored in international communications when you were in college. Is that correct? Or
No, no, no. I mean here in the United States when I moved.
okay, okay. Uh, when you first arrive, you had to probably think, well, at least I'm with my husband. I have a friend at least, and adapting to the environment. And I think you said this earlier, maybe in a different way. But did you feel like an outsider for a while? And if you did, what gave you those feelings?
Yeah, I think it's very important questions for me. Yeah, thank you for asking me
Sure.
that. um, yeah, I felt like that, and especially when people don't understand me because of my accent, or they ask me like repeat myself. And this is maybe the hardest part because I feel like I'm invisible, and I
Uh,
want to say I'm much funnier and smarter in my native language, you know. But the thought, some thoughts helps me to understand that this feeling is temporary. Like every conversation, every new experience, every small like success um, helps me feel a little bit more, even like home here. You know, right now after maybe 3 years I live here, I start feeling that California, the Bay Area, just this is my home right now. Yeah. So.
yeah. Well, California is a whole different culture in it of itself,
Mhm.
because I've gone to different states, and like you, I see a cultural change that people are somewhat different. And again, it stems, I think, from their upbringing, and I think in part, uh, just talking to a lot of people I came across when I was in high tech, uh, I learned to have a different understanding and perception of what I was seeing in a different part of the world. I mean, like when I went to Israel, when I was working for this high tech company, it was my first exposure to that country. And at first, when my boss asked me, would you like to come? And I had just started the job. And I said, well, can I tell you tomorrow? Because I wanted to talk about it with my wife. And yeah, I just had this fear of what I was going to be walking into. And my wife said, look, if your boss is going to go, I don't think you have anything to worry about. Why? Because if she felt that way, she wouldn't go either. So I went, but, I saw the differences when I arrived in that, you know, you're in a culture where, because of their surrounding areas and, different countries that don't really like Israel, that they have to be strong. They have to be very tough. And it's like when I left to come home, the experience just to clear the airport was something else. Because I know when I went with a friend of mine, we were leaving and we made our first stop, and it was like this small little building. And this guy comes out, and our driver turned around, looked at both of us and said, "Don't worry, you guys don't look like you're terrorists." And I thought, oh, okay. And then as the guy came over, he asked for our passports. And then the next thing, the corner of my eye caught this guy coming up from the other side of the building. And he was a soldier and he had his rifle ready. And I thought, okay, what did we do wrong? And as soon as I had that thought, I said, okay, you can go on now. But I had to go through like 7 checkpoints before I could actually get to the seating area where I could board the plane. I mean, they checked our luggage, they looked at our passports, and they were asking all kinds of questions just to see if they could cause you to slip up. And I had to realize, as I was sitting down waiting for my plane to take off, I thought, this is a whole different side of the world. What they're experiencing is something I hope I never have to experience, but I can understand why these people have a certain demeanor. And to your point, until you live in that particular part of the world or try to understand it, you can't make a judgment call.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah, and
go
I
ahead.
can add that in the last few years, millions of people like from Belarus, from Russia and Ukraine, they have had start their lives over like in new countries, and it's incredibly difficult. Like because you're not just changing your address, right? You're rebuilding your entire life far away from your friends, your family, and where everything's so familiar for you. So here everything is new, like culture, language, people, healthcare system, like taxes, and even simple everyday tasks take much more effort than they used to. And sometimes you feel like you're 5 years old again. So, you're capable, you have experience and skills, but you have to relearn how to live in completely different environment.
Right.
So, yeah.
What have you found the most difficult part of the United States culture? I know you mentioned something about the tax system. I mean,
Maybe the hardest part was communication for me, not just all these adult details. Yeah, because even in my job, I was like never doubted my professional skills because I worked in creative agency for many years before I moved to the United States. And my biggest challenge was communication because all my job, it's communication. It is communication. My job is around discussion, meetings, collaborations. And so imagine doing all of that in different language. Your brain is translating all the time, trying to find the right words. So also you're trying to understand the culture, the new company environment. And so I think communication is the hardest part, to switch in a different language. And maybe it will be easier if I will speak in English at home, but I speak in Russian language with my husband at home, and I always need to switch different languages all the time, like at work in English, at home in Russian, and just, it's maybe the hardest part, I think.
well, that's like my wife. She's Canadian, but she is Polish in her background. And she and her sister are now learning to speak Polish. And that's when, at least for my wife, she discovered that learning the Polish language a little difficult. But I really admire her because she always studies almost once a week. She's taking these courses. And she and her sister were planning to go to Poland to visit some cousins that she didn't know she had. And she discovered it when her father, who is now passed, his sister passed away. And she got word of it. And that's what got them started on learning the language and then even having FaceTime calls with the relatives. And they were ready to go this coming September. And I was getting worried because I told my wife, maybe we wait and see what happens with the things that are happening outside with the world and more so with who our president is. So she's going to hold back, but hopefully she can go next year. But I think through my wife, too, I've learned she's very to the point, makes decisions very quickly, and doesn't beat around the bush. And she says, where did you get that from? I said, well, I learned from my parents, because her parents, they grew up during the Second World War. So it was a time period where the only person that's going to take care of you is you. So you have to learn and learn quickly. And that's how she adapted those types of habits. And I learned from her. So she's been a good teacher for me. And I love her for it. But yeah, I don't know. I look at the world today and where we are. And, for the life of me, I just can't understand how and when we're going to work as one. When you look about the cultures and the differences, yeah, it's difficult. It really is. I mean, I don't know what your point of view is on the political scene that we have today. What are your thoughts?
It's hard, complicated question for me because I experienced all of that like a long time ago. Like, if you know the Belarusian story, I will not like a lot to talk about that, but it was hard time in 2020. Yeah, so I feel like in 2020 it starts for me as a Belarusian citizen. And it's continue like everywhere where I go, I see like the same problems, and I know that every country has their own problems, and only you decide what you like, what was you okay with that or not. Like you decide what's like priority for you. Yeah. So.
No, that's a good way to put it. What do you think? We have this, story going on here with our country. I mean, our country, United States, was built on immigrants, but it seems today that word immigrant has a nasty tone to it. And since you've been here, what do you think Americans have a problem? What don't they understand about people wanting to come here to start a new life, just like their ancestor did? What do you think might be?
Yeah, I wish more people understand that immigration isn't just about moving to another country. It's just about rebuilding your entire life from scratch, while being far away from your family, your friends. And most people don't leave because they want or it's so easy. They leave because they hope for a better future or better opportunities. And I think making that decision takes a lot of courage because it's a huge risk and it's a huge responsibility. And one thing that isn't always helpful is when people say to you, well, you can always go back, right? And usually people said it's with the good intentions. But after you invested so much energy and time and emotion into building your new life, like going back isn't a simple solution.
Yeah. It could be a whole lot more difficult than you realize.
Yes, that's true. So I think immigrants needs most a little patience, understanding, and kindness. And maybe these small things help you like to have like a huge differences when you're trying to build a new home.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a topic that, and it's a short story about my wife and I, when you were saying to come to a different country can be difficult, and making that move is a risk because you don't know what you're going to encounter. I mean, you may have said, okay, I planned everything. And then when you get there, it's like, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So what I'm getting at is uh, before my wife moved down here from Canada, um, we both knew we're going to get married. And she was getting things packed. Her friends were helping her, and the moving company was there. And she called me saying, okay, they're here, they're packing up everything. Don't forget to pick me up, at the airport later on today. And I thought she was just kind of being funny. And then a few hours goes by, she calls me again. It's okay, the movers have left, they've taken everything. So I'm going to be spending my time with my friend tonight. Don't forget to pick me up at the airport, okay? And then she calls me one more time in the evening to ask me the same question. Anyway, when she arrives and we're driving home, I said, why did you keep asking me that question? And she goes, well, I know we're going to get married. I know you love me, but look at the change I'm making. And she meant it in a good way. It wasn't like she was having second doubts, but she was leaving her family. She was leaving her country to spend the rest of her life down here with me. And I think she knew, not to toot my own horn, but I said, I wouldn't do that to you. But I had to stop and realize what was going through her mind. So I didn't make an issue out of it. I just said, okay, now I understand. But yeah, it can be extremely difficult to pack up things and just walk out the door. And, but thank God everything's worked out fine. So
Yeah.
no, we're very happy. So seeing America as it is today, is it different from when you first arrived? I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes. How does your husband, does he like it here? Is he adapting? I mean,
It's always, he said, like yesterday, our friends asked us, do you like America? Do you like California? And he asked, right now I can say yes.
that's a good answer.
Yeah. I think when we just moved to the United States, we didn't understand, like, do we like it or not? Because it was completely different, and it was hard question. And people just always ask us, what do you feel? How you, like, what do you think? And I don't know. Like, give me some time. I don't know. Like, I need some more time to understand. Yeah. And right now, I think I like America. I like living in California. And I think my husband said the same thing. I see some issues. I disagree with a lot of different things, but my quality of life is much higher than it was in Belarus 3 years ago. So I think I should be grateful for that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, the United States, is a good country. I mean, we have our faults. There's no question about it. But based upon what I've experienced since I was born here, I've been very fortunate. I really have. And I don't know what my life would have been like had I been somewhere else in the world, what I would have experienced. I could have been with somebody in, Portugal saying, gee, I wish I can go to America. But, I think that's part of what I think we need to understand with our cultural differences is we have to be patient and we have to sit down and talk. But I think the most important thing I think people just can't continue to miss is we have to listen to why would this person have given me that answer? Because I don't understand. And again, and when I go back to that experience I had when I went to Israel, I thought, you know what? I'm getting a whole different outlook now on why these people have to be so tough and why they're very upfront and to the point. And I think you're seeing it now too when you've been here to America, and I'm sure your husband has seen it, that a lot of things are different here than what you probably experience in Belarus. Every country is going to have its faults. It's going to have its good points. But I think in the end, I'm hoping that the world will one day just understand if there's only one planet Earth. You know, if there's a planet Earth 2, let me know, and I'll pack my bags. But, you know, until that happens, you know. So let me ask you this final question here. You've shared a lot about your experiences, your feelings, and I found your answers to be very poignant and to the point. But if you were to talk to someone, say they were talking to you, and you're getting to make the move here to the United States, what advice would you give them? What would you suggest?
I think I would borrow one word from Ted Lasso, believe.
Believe. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, like believe that you learn the language, believe that you'll find your people, believe that one day this unfamiliar place will feel like home. So starting over is never easy, but it's worth giving yourself the chance to succeed.
That's good. Yeah. Well, like you said, to the point, one word, believe. I like that. I never watched the show, but I guess I'm going to have to watch it now.
Yeah, I highly recommend. It's new season coming, so you should watch it.
Oh, okay. So listen, I always like to end our conversation with what I call speed round questions. And I provided you the questions, and I'll share with you that over time that I've asked people these questions, the answers have been sometimes very funny, very deep, but sometimes they don't know how to answer the question, and as simple as it may be. But let me give you the first question. What was the best live concert you ever attended, and why?
The best one is Linkin Park. I was in Belarus 10 years ago with Chester Bennington, and I was last year with a new singer, Emily Armstrong, and this is the same band, and this is completely like different experience, but both concerts are the best for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. No, I've never heard of them. What was the name again? Well,
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park. Okay.
Yeah,
no, I'll
this
have to look
is
that.
A rock band.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
They are so
you have to
famous.
forgive me. I'm 76, so I'm a a little bit older than you.
They are very famous in my like millennial teachers.
What do you wish you had more time to do, and why?
I wish I had more time to experience art and culture. I'm a huge fan of movies, books, music, theater, and I always feel like it's not enough time to explore everything. You know, if I had more time, I've watched more films, I go to more concerts and musicals, I read a lot more books. So for me, it's just not a hobby. It's just the best way to understand people and the world around us. So I really like it. And sometimes I feel like it's not enough time to do it.
Man, I love reading too. I have a lot of books. A little short story here. I remember during COVID, I trying to think, okay, I got to keep myself busy. So someone said they had read 52 books in 1 year. I thought, okay, I'm going to try that. I got to 47 and then I gave up. But it was fun. It was fun. What was your first paying job?
I was in a Waitress when I was a student. Yeah, I wanted to have more money. And yeah, I had like part-time job as a waitress.
That's great. So here's another question, and I'm going to change it just a little bit. If your husband wrote a book about you, what
Oh,
would the title be?
um,
Don't
long
tell me
await.
Believe.
No. Long awaited wife.
Oh,
Because
that's sweet.
we know each other from 6 years old, and he fell in love in me from the first grade.
Wow.
Yeah, but we were like close friends, but not any romantic like relationships. And maybe only 6 years ago we just started dating each other. Yeah, so I think
That's a
it's like
great story, though. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. Okay, so you're coming home from work, you're dead tired, and you just want to have your comfort food that makes you feel better that, okay, I just finished the week. What would that comfort food be? What's your favorite?
As a Belarusian person, I'd like to say is potato. I really like potato dishes. I like everything with potato. Yeah, and we have like a lot of them in my culture.
Okay, final question. Um, what would you attempt to do if you knew you couldn't fail? I mean, there's no barriers, you know, it's like, it's all yours, make it happen. What would that be?
Mm, I think maybe I like acting and I like singing. And I was thinking maybe I can just sing in the musicals, you know?
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So maybe something like that.
What kind of music would that be?
Like Broadway shows, like,
Okay,
I like that theater experience. And yeah, maybe something like that.
that's great. I love that. So, Daria, this has been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate your openness and sharing some of the things you've experienced since coming here to the United States. And again, I applaud you and your husband for making such a big move. Again, as you called out, and as I shared with you, my wife told me, it's not an easy move to make because there is a risk. And I think in the long term, hopefully it'll continue to be wonderful for you and your husband. So to that end, I will tell my friends who are listening, I hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll look forward to talking to a new guest in the time coming. So everyone, thank you again and take care.